Hello, and welcome to Hunt-A-Killer Box 4. I am Will Rogers, at Will Rogers 2000 on Twitter. I run thehauntedSponge.com, a horror blog. Hunt-A-Killer fits right into that. I also run the Talk Bomb production company behind the podcast Will and Bobby Know Everything, Book Club Schmook Club, and maybe some true crime shows coming up soon. Stay tuned. Anyway, because this is box 4, I want to say two things. One,
Oh, why? No. God, this happens every time. Oh, the best laid plans. Here we go.
and maybe some true crime shows coming up soon. Stay tuned. Anyway, because this is box 4, I want to say two things. One, welcome to anybody coming from the Hunt-A-Killer Facebook group, and welcome specifically to anybody coming from the November 2016 Hunt-A-Killer group, because we're all on the same track. Now, if you're not part of that group, cool, I just wanted to give a shout out. Anyway, I'm going to be spoiling box 4 here today, and doing that also involves spoiling boxes 1, that's 1 to me, 1 through 3. So, spoiler alert for Hunt-A-Killer up to box 4. Alright, now that that's out of the way, why don't we dig into this? Because I'm very excited. If box 3 was any indication, these boxes are getting increasingly intricate the longer they go on. So, here we are. There it is, right in front of me. Box 4 of Hunt-A-Killer, which, huge thanks to Hunt-A-Killer for sending me these. Why don't we dig right in, I guess. You can see already I blocked out my address and stuff, as I always do, just in case. Because I like you guys, but I don't need true crime enthusiasts visiting me in the middle of the night. Now, I've already popped the box, because there are a couple of things I wanted to get out of the way. One, your address also appears inside, so I did that. I've also already ripped open all envelopes so that you don't have to watch me do that here. And because if you watched my box 3 unboxing, then you know that I encountered a couple of things that I was not expecting.
Oh no, it's a mess. Whew, it's gooey.
So I figured that I would just get that out of the way, and that just leaves us to look at the items that are in here. Now, right off the bat, of course, that means we get to check out this super cool magnifying glass. A pocket magnifying glass. How weird is that? It feels like it would be a spy tool, in like the 50s or something. I never go anywhere without my nifty pocket magnifying glass. You can actually see I've got my at-home magnifying glass, and this is my travel set. Anyway, that's the first doohickey of box 4. And there we go, our envelope. Now I noticed no inspection sticker for boxes 3 or now 4. Boxes 1 and 2 both had inspection stickers on them, but since there was a phone number on that sticker, and since it was a real phone number from a real company who just makes inspection stickers, I called them, a lot of people called them, and so I don't know if it's an in-universe thing to take the inspection stickers off. It could be, based on my theories of what's going on right now, or if it was just like, let's give the company a break and not have everybody call them all the time. Maybe they even got a phone call from the company for all I know, I guess. All right, so here we go. We've got our next pen pal letter. And I just flung a clue across the room, so I'm going to grab that. But you can see we've got a bonus letter. This is above and beyond what we typically would receive. Because usually, there it is. Usually we just get a note from Listening Friends of America, the pen pal company, basically. So we got 2 letters, plus the pen pal letter. And this, which is weird. What is this? Newspaper from the Ohio Farmer. My favorite newspaper. I guess I'm getting it for free this month. Although, this is the April 23rd, 1892 edition. A real classic. So, maybe this is what the magnifying glass is for. Honestly, I was expecting that maybe we'd have to, hunt for a secret message printed in an image, but This is some pretty tiny font. I wonder if that's just what that magnifying glass is for. And this, of course, our friend letter, which I've done a horrible job popping open. But you wouldn't want to watch me do it. So, yeah, there it is. Save a few mysteries. I'll read this and dig into it so that we can discuss it over in my, my little studio over there. Okay, let me grab that thing I dropped. Weird. Look at this. Some sort of image of, I don't even want to hazard a guess, maybe a priest? It's like a cross on the wall, Latin on the back, non sequitur? No idea. But let's see, is that it? They typically have something at the bottom of these envelopes. There you go. Yep. Let's see. We've gotten things like teeth, like pens covered in blood, and now you can see how Box 4 changes the game. Wink. Little airplane toy. This is great. This is great. I'll be able to kick back and unwind. I guess the idea is when the clues stump you, and we know they will, you can just kick back and play with your airplane toy. All right, well, there you have it, everybody. Box 4, the initial unboxing. So I'm going to now go through all of this, study it, digest it, and I'll see you in my studio so that we can start to try to put together exactly what's going on here. Box 4 of Hunt-A-Killer, everybody. Let's do this.
All right, and here we go. Hello! It is now me actually live here in the present. Obviously, that was a pre-recorded thing. I feel like it's not much fun for everybody to have to watch me unbox things, literally opening envelopes, opening up pieces of paper. So here I am. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you much if you're already in the chat. Shout out Charles Goss. Shout out Jamie Fisher. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are, I am Will Rogers 2000 on Twitter. I am at Haunted Sponge and at TalkBomb as well, because I run both of those things. And here we go. I'm very excited about this. I've taken my time. If you are part of the Hunt-A-Killer Facebook group, either the overall company one or the one for the November 2016 players, then you probably have seen my images of my research that I've been doing today. I literally laid out all of the information from boxes 1 through 4 on my coffee table in my living room with my wife and went through everything all together at once. And I feel like things are starting to come together. I don't know for sure. We'll find out now. Hey, Penny and Brain hunts a killer. Woohoo, so pumped. Me too. Before we really dive into, everything from Box 4, I do want to just ask if you guys have been watching my series of unboxings and theorizing for Hunt-A-Killer. Please consider hitting the like button below. Please consider subscribing to TalkBomb, which is my production company that I run. I produce a bunch of podcasts with my friends, like Will and Bobby Know Everything, or Book Club, Schmook Club. And if you enjoy what I'm doing here, just me alone, you would love the shows that I do with my friends, and especially the ones that we are working on. As I mentioned in the opening, we have an actual true crime show that we are actively working on and hoping to launch soon. So if you enjoy this, you might enjoy that other stuff. And especially Book Club, Schmook Club, where we just did Psycho. We just finished the first 3 books of the Psycho book series, which no one knew they were a book series, because why would you? So if you like this, you might like that. Go check it out. iTunes, Stitcher, or everything is available at TalkBomb.com. I also, on a more personal note, just want to let you guys know about something that not many people necessarily know about, but I would really appreciate it. So if you wouldn't mind bearing with me for 1 second, I just want to share. I wrote an article and posted it earlier today because if you are a listener to my podcasts, if you do follow me on Twitter and everything, then you know that last June my sister Karen was killed by a drunk driver. And it was actually, as I was writing the article earlier today, weirdly enough, it was 8 months ago exactly to the day that a drunk driver hit into the back of my sister's car, killing her and injuring her husband, my brother-in-law, and her son, my nephew, one of my nephews. So I wrote this article that I'm going to share here. You can find it if you go and look at my Twitter page at Will Rogers 2000. I've shared the actual link so you can find it. I think I also put a link in the show notes below if you want to check it out. But it's literally an open letter to the judge who's overseeing the case, making my case for an answer. It won't make things easier, but now my family in Long Island had to go to multiple hearings without really an answer being given, and new court dates constantly just being set up. So I figured I happen to do a bunch of stuff online. Why not post my letter online? My family was urging people that knew my sister to write letters saying how much they cared for her and how much what happened has devastated us all, so that hopefully the judge can see this outpouring of love for my sister Karen. Hopefully he does the right thing. So please check that out. I would really appreciate that. If you happen to have a story like Karen's, like mine, the family member of somebody that has suffered due to somebody, a drunk driver, you can please send anything that you might want to write to notesforkaren2017@gmail.com, and I'll make sure they end up in the right place. Okay, but yeah, sorry, just me on a personal note. Anyway, I'd really appreciate that. So here we are, Hunt a Killer Box 4. Whew. I am both enjoying the sense that things are sort of beginning to coalesce into a singular story, and I am for sure a bit confused at what happens now. So spoilers, up and down 100%. You saw stuff in my unboxing, but I'm going to actually tell you what it means. So spoilers, boxes 1 through 4 of Hunt a Killer. Here we go. That was your one and only warning. Well, actually, it was like the 10th warning, whatever. So every single one of these boxes starts, or at least where I start, is with our Listening Friends of America letter. Now, for boxes 1 through 3, these were all written by George Madsen, who was who was in charge of Listening Friends of America. But this one is now written by Jacob Nilsson. Now, Jacob Nilsson, you might remember, because we had found out in my last video, I can show you right here. He was the employee of the month, I don't know what else you would call him. He got the employee spotlight in the winter 2017 newsletter at listeningfriendsofamerica.org. Now, not only that, but this commendation written by, as we can see, George Madsen himself, references the fact that Jacob had been a package inspector. Now, I think it was box 1, might have been box 2, but I think it was box 1. We had an inspection sticker with the initials JN. So Jacob Nilsson has been here since the beginning. He is, I think now that he is in charge of Listening Friends of America, doing the bidding of our pen pal, John William James, to send us, different sort of clues and weird things in the mail. These are sensitive materials that are not supposed to be shared, obviously, but Jacob Nilsson is actively allowing it now, I think. So there's a cryptic message in this letter, as most letters in the game have, where Jacob references the fact that George Madsen is, I guess, missing, because he says, "I know I speak for us all in the Listening Friends of America family when I say that our hearts go out to the Madsen family, and we pray for George's return in one piece." Now that obviously says to me that he is, I don't know, being held captive? I feel like the phrasing, "we pray for him to be returned in one piece," it sounds like there's a ransom somehow, but I don't know how that can necessarily be true. Plus, we had from box 3, there was a secret message written in binary in our John William James letter that translated to I got M, capital M. I got M. And I had said at the time I thought that it meant George Madsen, and this tells me that I was right. John William James managed to escape. I'm guessing killed George Madsen with that pen from Box 3 that was covered in blood. And I think he's running the facility. You know, this says that Jacob Nilsson is in charge. Now Jacob Nilsson has been promoted. He originally was like an intern, then he was the package inspector. Now he's vice president, head of the Darlington, Maryland Listening Friends of America site. I think that John William James put Jacob Nilsson in that seat as kind of just like a puppet in charge. Very weird. Okay, let's move on to this letter. We'll leave John William James alone for now. So this is a letter written to a Samuel J. Hawkins, written by Dr. William Richter. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's because William Richter was the guy that ran the original facility that Lloyd McGowan was in. Now, if the name Lloyd McGowan sounds familiar, it is because we've been being sent sensitive materials about Lloyd McGowan by John William James. Very Hannibal Lecter. We are the sounding board for John William James to explain his madness, and he's reaching out to us like Hannibal helped Clarice Starling by sending us the case of Lloyd McGowan, who he believes was framed for killing a woman named Lillian. In box 2, we were sent a big case file about Lloyd McGowan, and all over that case file is the name William Richter. Lloyd McGowan was originally in William Richter's care. Now, we didn't know much. In box 2, as best I could tell, John William James was suggesting that there was some clue that would prove Lloyd McGowan's innocence. I went all over that case file. All that I could really tell at the time, and now we have new information, was that the woman, Lillian, was killed during a time that Lloyd McGowan was institutionalized. And obviously we jumped to the assumption that, well, he couldn't have killed her because he was not behind bars, but he was not a free man. Well, according to this letter, Lillian was also a patient in the Institute. She was something of a tragic figure in this hospital, full of life, yet suffered from anterograde amnesia. So, in a nutshell, William Richter lays out basically what happened in this letter. Lillian was found dead in a closet. And not only that, they found that Lloyd McGowan's room was unlocked. So obviously they put 2 and 2 together and say Lloyd McGowan got out of his room, killed Lillian, hid her body in a closet, and then denied everything. But the real sinister story of this letter is that William Richter is not advocating for inspecting this case at all. As a matter of fact, the exact opposite. The victim's family has long ago forgotten her or moved on without her. There are no records of any visits from them in the past 5 years. Who are we to open old wounds? He wants to ignore it. He literally wants to pay no attention to the fact that a woman was killed on his watch because he thinks if anybody finds that out, they will be shut down and none of them will be able to practice medicine ever again. So he's actually saying that they should do nothing. He's going to remove the file they have on Lillian and place it in his personal care. This is a tragic day for all of us. I know it perhaps more than anyone here, but we must continue on. Yeah. Great. More than Lillian, who is murdered. He knows the difficulties that people suffer. I don't know. He's at risk to lose his job. Sounds like he should. But I guess the other thing that we know after box 3, and if you guys watch my box 3 video, where I flat out lose my mind at one point finding the audio clue that exists on listeningfriendsofamerica.org, we heard an audio file where someone is interviewing Lloyd McGowan, who is obviously drugged beyond coherence, into forcing him to confess to this murder. Don't believe it. And now I believe it even less. And hey, they wanted to just ignore the whole thing and sweep it under the rug. Okay. So, Penny and Brain hunts a killer. Love that name. It's literally first name. The full first name is Penny and Brain. Last name hunts a killer. That's great. Makes me wonder what John William James has over Jacob Nilsson. Yeah. Is he framing him? I guess I was thinking that he was somehow forcing him to do it. That, you've got somebody who was incarcerated or locked up somehow, escaping and killing the boss, now saying like, okay, you're in charge. Would you tell that guy no? I feel like that's enough to have over Jacob Nilsson to get him to do whatever you ask. But I guess you're right. It's a question worth asking. Is there something that, hey?
She was on birth control.
Okay.
Why would she be on birth control if she's in a mental institution?
Interesting. My wife, with a bag on her head and obviously whitening her teeth so she doesn't want to appear on camera, has just appeared. Thank you, honey. And given me some critical information about the victim. Breaking news. Lillian, Lloyd McGowan's supposed murder victim, was on birth control. If she were also a patient of whatever that facility was, why would she have access to birth control? Why would she be on it? Bam. I mean, that is a question right there. Is that something that they provide patients? That's one of those things where it's like, I just don't know stuff a lot of the time. So maybe they do, but I would bank on no, they don't typically give patients birth control. Was she a patient? They say she had anterograde, how do you pronounce it? Anterograde amnesia. Could that be a front as well? I mean, it would not be surprising for the facility that is drugging and coercing confessions out of patients to have another patient kept under, insidious circumstances. She had anterograde amnesia. Maybe they lied to her about why she was there. Maybe they faked a condition for her to explain why she was being kept. I don't know. Raises questions, though, obviously. More in MP3 as well, proving innocence, all based on the supposed timeline of events. I think McGowan and Lillian were both on the same meds, but Lillian was either pregnant or having a relationship with someone, so she was on more meds. Yeah, I think you're right. I remember that. Yeah, I think she was pregnant. The side effects McGowan had after his in-room incident and Lillian's autopsy were very similar. I think Lillian was pregnant. Birth control was pretty new still at the time and not widely socially acceptable for women to use at the time. But still, if she was a patient of this facility, and obviously they're locking patients in their rooms, they make specific reference to the fact that Lloyd McGowan's door was unlocked, which suggests that the norm is for the door to be locked. It sounds like, it's enforced. They are locked in. Even if it's, like a mental health facility, are they locked into their rooms? I don't know. So let's jump to the John William James letter. So I don't really know what to think. A lot of this ties back to the beginning. It ties back to box 1. As it turns out, John William James grew up on a farm. Like that farm. Bam. Or I guess I'm like a newsman. This farm. This image was sent to us, I think, in box 3, I want to say. And here we're maybe starting to get the reason why. When I was a boy, I lived on a farm not terribly far from here. My father built the house himself after he and my mother purchased the land. My parents, always oblivious to the details, were unaware that an underground stream snaked through the property. The earth became fraught with sinkholes, and I fell in my fair share of them. I've been fascinated by them ever since. Now, way back in box one, we had our first ever clue that we were able to, I don't know, puzzle out, which was a news article that had black lines throughout it, redacting certain phrases and words. And the article was about a sinkhole opening on Mulberry Street in Maryland. So we all wondered why. We didn't know what the connection was. Some of the phrases that were redacted from the article ended up in our first ever letter from John William James. So we knew there was some connection there. This begins to explain it, but I'm not going to say that this fully explains to me why he's sending us sinkhole articles. He likes sinkholes, so he's reading a bunch of articles about them and using phrases from them to write to us. But why? Don't know. Let's see. The chat's going all over Lloyd McGowan and Lillian. Let's see. Jamie Fisher. If she was having a relationship, that raises the question of why nothing, like DNA from sperm, showed up on her autopsy. According to the letter from William Richter that we got in this box, box 4, they didn't know, although I guess this was probably written impulsively, but they weren't sure whether or not she had been raped. Heather Smith. Hey, Heather. Hello. I'm feeling the pregnant vibe too, and that maybe the doctor was taking advantage of her, knocking her up, and then killed her to cover up his rape. Wow. Wow. Penny and Brain agrees, wondering if John William James is making up his whole backstory, as it seems oddly similar to McGowan's. I noticed that too. He says in this new letter that he didn't like his father, but he misses his mother dearly. And we know that Lloyd McGowan loved his mother. We heard it in the audio clue on the website. It's all over the place. So, yeah. I mean, that's another sort of Hannibal Lecter-ish touch, right? I feel like he used to use a lot of wordplay to make references to himself that were actually references to, like, the Tooth Fairy and Buffalo Bill. Richter in box 4 is very quick to close the case. He could have been involved with her. Yeah, he could have been. I guess part of my problem is that I have a tendency to want things to be very like, that is why. This led to that, led to that, led to that. And we got a lot of that in box 3 where it was mind-blowing to me. You get a reference to there being a newsletter that's on the website, and you go to the website, which you've checked before, and there had been nothing, but now there's a newsletter. And you open the newsletter, and there's a puzzle in it, and you solve the puzzle, and that guides you here, and that gives you dates, and that you put on the website, and here you get a clue. This is very much more... I agree with you guys. This is not me saying that I don't agree with you, but this is the sort of thing that it sort of requires just kind of gathering how you feel about something, which makes it a bit messier to me. Richter did seem quick to close this case, but he himself is acknowledging that as well. He's agreeing that he is quick to try to close this case, but the reason he gives is that he doesn't want to raise suspicion about his facility. I thought that it sounded suspicious that he jumped immediately to, oh, if they look at us, they're going to shut us down. We'll never practice medicine again. Is that true? A door was unlocked. Lloyd McGowan's room was accidentally unlocked. Is that grounds to terminate the licenses of medical professionals? It was a mistake that yielded a terrible result. But I don't know. I just don't know. So maybe I actually, now that I'm talking it out, I agree with you. I don't think that jumped to mind for me before, but it does now seem to me incredibly suspicious that he wants to shut this thing down. She was pregnant. She was on birth control. How'd she have access to it? He running the facility could easily give her birth control. If she was pregnant with his child and he wanted to stop it. I don't know. One or several of the higher ups have something to do with her murder, I think. And jail? Penny and Brain. Less than 24 hours is very, very quick. Didn't even have the autopsy / full story yet. Just seems weird. Heather, what do you mean, why jail? I think I'm missing something there. So there's another reference in this letter that I find really, really interesting. Actually, I guess, two of them. So John William James goes on to say that that our discourse, John William James and us, going back and forth, has invited new analysis of our mutual friend Mr. McGowan. Upon further review, it seems, he is to be released. It turns out he is no more a murderer than you are. Indeed, he might be described better as a troublesome priest than a murderous demon. He heard about you, He offered his toy plane as a gift of gratitude. Apparently, he once dreamed to fly until his hero crashed in a jungle and was never found. Isn't it funny, the choices we make of those we admire? Always, John William James. P.S. You will know the demon when you see him in the flesh. Now, priest and demon. He says that Lloyd McGowan is more of a troublesome priest than a murderous demon. And then he says, you'll know the demon when you see him in the flesh. And we are given this image, which I guess I may as well just put it up here. Bam. Let me see. Okay, Heather. Why did they say he could go to jail? That's pretty extreme. When he was saying the facility would get shut down. Aha! Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, he's thinking about jail, but he's not giving us a reason why that is a logical thing to be worried about. Good call. Well done. I feel like that is it. I feel like that's like the smoking gun to unravel his logic and prove that he has something to be more worried about than just there being a door unlocked. I think you're right. Good job. Andy Richter's going to jail. So this image, this priest, I don't know if you guys did, but I did. I did a search for this image and found out that it is from Dr. Faustus. Let me see. Dr. Faustus. It's like the death of Dr. Faustus. Now, I had read just Faust, but this is the tragical history of the life and death of Dr. Faustus. So, basically, in a nutshell, this is Dr. Faustus. He's standing in a protective ring on the ground, kind of like if you ever watched like Supernatural and shows like that. That's supposed to protect him from any sort of like supernatural or demonic interference. And he is summoning Mephistopheles, literally a demon. In the story of Faust, he makes a deal with the devil, and that is this. So, obviously, there's a connection from this to the letter, right? So, Lloyd McGowan is more of a troublesome priest than a murderous demon. You'll know the demon when you see him in the flesh. Now, if Lloyd McGowan is Dr. Faustus, did he make a deal with the devil? That doesn't seem to entirely add up. But then, you'll know the demon when you see him in the flesh. I'm inclined to think that the demon is either referring to Dr. William Richter or to John William James himself. One makes more sense than the other. For it to be Dr. William Richter, it would sort of imply to me that Dr. Faust is selling his soul to make a point. Exactly. Faustus also studied theology. Yeah. But Dr. William Richter, there was no deal between them. Dr. William Richter is just the demon in this instance, especially now if we are to believe that he maybe killed Lillian to cover up the fact that they had been sleeping together. I don't know. And tried to frame Lloyd McGowan. But to me, it seems like a more logical sort of thematic connection that Lloyd McGowan made a deal with the devil, John William James, to get his freedom, right? Because of John William James sending us the file on Lloyd McGowan, he's going to go free. Heather Smith Richter is the demon because he got away with murder and rape. I think so too, but if we're supposed to connect this to Faustus, I mean, the demon is not just evil because he's pure evil. He does something. He has this connection to the hero. John William James, I think, is more easily the demon. I mean, if you think of like the silver-tongued, pulling all the strings type, again, Hannibal Lecter, I think that he is the real demon, doing a deal with Lloyd McGowan to secure his freedom. And obviously, we now know that both of them, I think, are technically free, right? Because John William James appears to be running this facility. Could be Faustus is Nilsson, Jacob Nilsson, and the demon / Lucifer is John William James. Absolutely. Excellent. Excellent. I want to know more about Jacob Nilsson. I think that that's interesting. I also think it's interesting that he was not the inspector of both of the first two boxes. I think I mentioned it in the my intro with the unboxing. I really like that boxes 3 and 4 of Hunt a Killer have not had inspection stickers on them at all. In universe, you could say that because John William James has taken over the joint, they're not inspecting the boxes anymore. He used to need to scare Jacob Nilsson into including stuff, sensitive material in the boxes like dog teeth and a bloody pen, but he doesn't need to coerce anymore. He doesn't need to convince. He's in charge, so no need to inspect. And the out of universe reason, the real world Ryan Hogan needs to send these boxes and not get in trouble reason, I think, is because the inspection sticker has a phone number on it that we all called. I called it. I know a bunch of people called it, and there are now thousands upon thousands of people playing the Hunt a Killer subscription boxes. So I bet that company got a ton of calls. So that could be a contributing factor to there not being any inspection stickers. And if that's true, kudos to the writers of this game for coming up with an in-universe reason to explain this meta company reason. Awesome. Well done. Maybe Richter organized for the door to be open in which selling his and other staff members' reputations. I think so. I think that, you think that maybe he opened the door and allowed Lloyd McGowan to actually do the murder? I think it's more likely that he's directly framing him. So they just unlock the door. Because they're just saying that it's plausible. They're throwing Lloyd McGowan, they're totally selling him out just on the possibility that he did, right? They don't know it for sure. They're just well, the door was unlocked, so it could have been him. So therefore it was definitely him. It doesn't really add up. John William James was giving Nilsson power by telling Nilsson that John William James will secure him a new position if Nilsson allows him to continue doing whatever he wants. Yeah, possibly. Poor Uline. Yeah, that was the sticker company. I forgot that name, you're right. With the weird no-ring phones. What's the weird no-ring phones? Am I missing something? I don't remember that. This is great. Okay. So, let's move on. The only other thing that I have to say about this image, about the Dr. Faustus image, is that there was, of course, writing on the back. You can't really see, but you can kind of see. And my wife and I translated the message. I'm not going to pretend that I know how to read Latin, so instead I will just read the actual translation, which translated literally, and then we're going to interpret. It does not follow pig, follows. The dogs show the truth. Okay. It does not follow pig, follows. The dogs show the truth. Two things. One, we were given a dog's tooth in one of the previous boxes. Was it box 2? I think it was box 2. Not only that, the dogs show the truth. What does that mean? We don't know. It does not follow pig follows. Pigs. Is he calling cops pigs? Pigs follow the dog who shows the truth. So that I am interpreting to literally be using a hound to try to sniff out clues and perhaps even a body. Now, I'm not sure if my mind is going to exactly the right place, but I instantly began thinking of the Red Barn and the fact that maybe this is John William James's home where he grew up on a farm and now he's sort of beginning to tell us the story of his downfall. So we still don't know what John William James did to end up behind bars himself. My theory has been that there are two mysteries going on with Hunt a Killer so far. One is the John William James story, and the other is the Lloyd McGowan story. Now, the Lloyd McGowan story, I think, is over, right? With us being sent this little totem as a thank you, the toy airplane, I think we are to believe that the Lloyd McGowan story is through. We helped him escape. I kind of wish that there was something that like I did that I could be like, oh, because I did this, I helped him escape. Truthfully, if I were just receiving these boxes, I've provided nothing else. I've not sent anything out into the world. I've tried to sign up for the newsletters, and I think I submitted some form on the Listening Friends of America website, but I've done nothing. I kind of wish there was a thing that I got to do to elicit this, like, oh boy. But hey, I've puzzled over all the clues, and I think I figured out why it can't be Lloyd McGowan. So I believe that story is done. So I now believe that this dog's clue is part of the John William James story. Lloyd is done. Maybe not, but I think so. Okay, let's go to the chat before I explain a little bit more of that. They answered right away. They really want to sell you labels. That's true. Poor Uline. We called, and instead of any dial tone or ringing, it just went straight to someone's answering machine, which I'd never heard before. Cabinet of Birds and Beasts, maybe, too. The message seems to have something to do with the Ohio Farmer, this newspaper, which we haven't even gotten to yet. Lots of references to pigs. Might be way off, but is there a reference to dogs in an article with a name? Ron. Hey, hi, Ron. Need to find someone who is just starting with box one. Oh, no. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, I was about to say, like, oh, get out of here if you're on box one. Get out of here. No, you're fine. Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. That would be the way to find out if it's an in-universe or an out-universe thing, right? If people who are starting on box one now have inspection stickers, then it is John William James just thinks that they're no longer necessary because he's running the joint. If they're not on the package, then it is totally real world, trying to put together a company, can't put the sticker on the envelope things. That's kind of awesome. I want to know. Yeah, Heather, how did we help him escape? I agree. Are you talking about how did we help Lloyd or how did we help John William James? I think we helped Lloyd because... So here's something, and this is just me thinking out loud, and it maybe doesn't make much sense, but, well, okay. Whew. Bear with me. I gotta drink some coffee and water. Sorry. So, I think that we helped Lloyd McGowan go free by being the sounding board for John William James. I don't know who... All right, this is the thing that I want to say that sounds crazy. I don't know who we are. Collectively, everybody who's doing Hunt a Killer, we're all acting as one person in a sense. Think of it this way. And this is super nerdy. Wow. All right, I'm about to get really, really weird. The Legend of Zelda video game series. If you guys have ever played it, new one comes out on Friday. I've got it pre-ordered and I can't wait. Anyway, if you've ever played it, it's a video game series. It's a Nintendo game. The main character that you play as, his name is Link, technically, but you can change his name. Every time you start a file, I can make my name Will. I can be like, oh, I'm at Will Rogers 2000. Plug. Go to follow me. Hey, like and subscribe too. We're well into this. If you're enjoying this, like and subscribe and share. We have a good amount of people watching. Let's get more. Share. So you can name your character whatever you want, but technically you're playing as Link. People in the game will call you at Will Rogers 2000. They'll call you whatever you named yourself. But canonically speaking, these events are all happening to a guy named Link. Not only that, sometimes a character will talk to you and they'll go like, "Well, how did you get here?" And Link won't talk; he's mute, and the other character will go like, "Oh, that's how," as if you said something. My feeling is that for Hunt a Killer, we're the pen pal, right? I think that we're all playing as a character. I don't. I haven't. I had not thought this until today, but I think we're playing as a character, all of us. Heather, Charles, Penny, and Brain. We are all embodying a single person who is the pen pal of John William James. He sent us Lloyd McGowan's file in box 2. We must have sent something back. And maybe the thing that we sent back, and I'm not saying this will ever be explained, and the more I'm saying it, the crazier it sounds, but I feel like it makes sense in a certain way. I think that he sent us all the clues, and us, the player character, we mailed something back saying, here's the inconsistency that we found. She was killed while he was incarcerated. We found the audio file. I don't know. I don't know why John William James is thanking us for our involvement. And more importantly, I don't know why Lloyd McGowan is thanking us for our involvement otherwise. John William James did everything, right? He is the guy that posted the audio clue on the website. He was Mr. Puzzles in that newsletter. So he did everything. So Lloyd McGowan should be thanking John William James. The only thing that I can assume is that we did do something because this story is about an A-B conversation between us and John William James, but we're only seeing the John William James stuff, and somewhere, unspoken, and maybe it will never be addressed, is communications from us, or the player, going back to John William James. Does that make sense at all? Whew. Okay. Charles. For me, the company is just starting, so the end case stuff we expect may come later as they work out the bugs of shipping and communicating with us in the real world. Completely agree. Completely agree. I think that it would be foolish at this point to assume that there is not potential for hiccups or any kind of bugs or anything like that. I think that this is a very sort of experimental, new kind of storytelling, which is one of the things that attracted me in the first place. I mean, actually, this was a gift that my sister Kristen from Book Club Schmuck Club had given me for my birthday. That's why I'm in the November 2016 group. That was my birthday. But the thing that made me want to keep going was the fact that I feel like this is a very exclusively 21st century kind of storytelling. I do wish that there was a little more involvement of us giving back to the game, having to send a message, having to click a box somewhere on a website. But I mean, I just don't know. You know, I think that it's a big experiment to see how you can do an ongoing mystery with thousands of people all at the same time. Not satisfying though. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I would be more satisfied if I did not have a question mark right now. I feel like there's not enough finality on the Lloyd McGowan story for me to feel like it's over, but I just don't see how it can't be over if he's thanking us and he's about to go free. So it's almost like you guys riddling out the William Richter actually killed Lillian thing, right? Like, we are meant to believe that we're meant to assume that it's over because he's going to go free and he's thanking us. So it must be done. Like, if box 5 has nothing about Lloyd McGowan in it, I wouldn't be surprised. But unfortunately, if box 5 has a bunch of Lloyd McGowan stuff in it, I also would not be surprised. It's hard to tell. It is hard to tell. Jamie Fisher. How could we send something to John William James through Listening Friends of America since it is now a one-way thing, i.e. prisoner to pen pal with no return with the pen pal? I think I know what you mean. But yeah, I really think that it'd be great if there was a website where you could go to send your theories and it's tied to your account. But then it just, from a company perspective, that creates way too many branching paths. Where it's like, if I did box 3 and I thought I got the answer, so I send off a message or whatever, only to find out that I was wrong. I don't know. What do you do then? I don't want somebody that's constantly going like, you didn't get the answer right. try again. That's not satisfying either. So I don't know what the answer is. I think the answer is to treat this like a journey, and just see how it evolves over time. The other thing is, I bet that they are endlessly learning lessons from doing this. And I also hope that this doesn't register as a complaint, because this is, for me, a singular experience that I can't get anywhere else. So I'm here regardless. They send me these boxes, I would be here anyway. If McGowan didn't kill Lillian, the real killer is still out there. That I can cover because I think one of two things. We have Dr. William Richter, and if we are going to... I think that it would be foolish to say that there's one single answer to the question of who is the demon in this analogy. You'll know the demon when you see him in the flesh. I kind of wonder if we're going to encounter a video at some point of William Richter. You know, this was written 40 years ago, 50 years ago. 1967, now it's 2017. This letter was written 50 years ago. He'd be like 80 or 90 now, assuming that he was 30 or 40 at the time that he was running this facility, which that also seems kind of young to me. But I wonder if we're going to find a video that explains how he got caught or died or some form of justice for what he did. You'll know the demon when you see him in the flesh. We're going to see him. That's what I think. Did McGowan attack the janitor because something about him reminded him of his father? Or did McGowan know something about the janitor? Don't know. Don't have enough information, I think, about the janitor to really consider one way or another. I also want to read this because I overlooked it, from Charles. It's fantastic, and people are so impatient that the minute they open the box, they want answers. They take all the joy out of it by wanting answers on day one. I agree. I completely agree. Wait, Penny and Brandon, can you guys explain what the deal was with the janitor in here? Because I just went over every single clue, and I don't remember somehow. But yeah, I totally agree. People pop this box open, and I think what they're expecting is a simple puzzle. I think that they're expecting that they can sit down and really, almost like they're solving, you know, like a Sudoku puzzle. They'll just get it and it'll be done and whatever. That's not as satisfying to me. I do think that there needs to be some element, some aha moment thing needs to happen for each box. That would be my expectation, kind of. But I do think that people are coming into this with the wrong expectation, that you're going to open the box and there's going to be a million aha moments, and at some point you're going to go, whew, okay, I'm done. That was great. No, I don't want that. I do, however, want there to be things like Box 3 blew my mind. If you guys watched that video, or if you were there while I was doing it live, at a certain point, I was almost just like screaming like a madman because of that like URL puzzle where you put the dates on the Listening Friends of America website and your reward, and that's how I saw it. That was your reward for your hard work of solving the cipher and everything. Bam. Audio clue. Now, I think stuff like that is on the horizon. I do. I feel like it would be very satisfying if that happened all the time. I don't know how realistic that is, but we'll see. I'm excited to keep the game going. In the chat, you guys are saying that the janitor has access to the weapons used, blunt items, tools, probably access to master keys, since he needs to clean and repair things in most areas. The janitor was a central character in the file from Box 2 that has to have something to do with it. I love having an aha moment and then going, but what does the aha connect to in the game? I love that it's not simple. I could not agree more. I could not agree more. So let's talk about the final clue from the box, which sadly, if you guys don't have an answer, I don't. The Ohio farmer. I just don't know. I mean, this to me is kind of like when we had the constellation chart in Box 1 and the swan, and where I'm just like, there's so much information, but I just don't know. April 23rd, 1892. That's when this newspaper is from. We do have a pig connection. You know, pigs follow. There is the first article in here is livestock. I mean, I guess this whole section is the livestock section of the Ohio Farmer newspaper. But this is swine papers, early maturity. Really exciting stuff. No branch of stock growing in the United States has more advancing strides equal to that of swine. I don't know. I don't know. I read this, but it felt like it was legitimately just a page of a newspaper. Any thoughts? Anybody in the chat? I would greatly appreciate that. Penny and Brain says, no, the doctor to me is the killer since he stated Lillian was dead before McGowan had even been transferred. We know not the doctor is not a doctor. What? Since he stated that, so who else could it be? The janitor is my guess. I think it's the doctor. I think William Richter is all over this thing. I think it's got to be the doctor. I mean, the janitor had access to the tools and keys, but it's not as though William Richter couldn't get his hands on blunt tools. And since he runs the facility, it's not a stretch to think that he could get access to the keys and probably has his own set. You have to sign up for a newspaper service to get a close-up of that article. The print is so tiny, so I figured the magnifying glass would be used, but I didn't find anything. Yeah, I didn't find anything at all. A hog and a greyhound are in the infant's cabinet of birds and beasts. Can you explain that, Penny and Brain? I did not hit it with the UV light. I could do that. I have it in the other room. They both were printed in the 1800s, and the last page of the animal book should be familiar from box 3. Penny and Brain. What? Can you explain that a little more? That's intriguing. And maybe I should go get that UV light. Because I could just do that right now, right? Why not? I'd post the link, but it won't let me. Try Googling it real quick. Yes. It's amazing. What's amazing? All right, I'm going to get the UV light. I kind of don't think there is anything, because you can sort of see remnants of glow-in-the-dark stuff when it's present, but what do I know? All right. Oh, no. Oh, it's always fun doing this. All right, I'll be right back. Oh, okay, that didn't work. I'm just going to put that up for now. All right. Let me see. Okay. Got my UV light now. Let's take a look. I don't know why I didn't do this immediately. I thought about it, but just didn't. Just didn't do anything. And no. Nope. Actually, there is one thing, but it looks like it's just a mistake. I wonder how they even have their, place set up to put together these boxes. On the fastening cattle for dehorning article in the third column, it's literally like a line. Just like a straight up mistake. Nothing on the John William James letter. No. Nothing on the Dr. Faustus card. Nothing on the William Richter letter. Can't hurt to check. I really should have just done this prior to now, because why wouldn't I? We've got these tools. One of my favorite things, I gotta say, is that everything is still in play. I love that I can literally sit down and splay out everything that we've gotten so far, boxes 1 through 4, and open everything and have the clues all on the table. And just like, with the Red Barn thing, it's awesome to me that I can be working on something and then go like, ah, okay, hold on a second. Where was it? Oh, it's from this box. Red Barn. Love that. I absolutely love that. The only other thing that I personally have to say about the Ohio Farmer newspaper, I mean, Red Barn, John William James talks about how he grew up on a farm. This is from 1892. Are we supposed to start to think that this is something that John William James would have been exposed to? Did he grow up in Ohio? When I was a boy, I lived on a farm not terribly far from here. I mean, Ohio and Maryland, like that's not... It's all relative, right? Like, not terribly far from here could mean an hour-long drive or a 4-hour drive. Who knows? Who knows? I'm going to sit down with the Ohio Farmer and magnifying glass tonight to see what pops out. Yeah. Interesting. Are you guys all in the November 2016 Hunt-A-Killer group? Because if you are, it'd be great if we could share our thoughts off of this conversation over there. Also, I've checked out the forum a little bit to just see what people are saying in there, and it's always tricky. I feel like because people tend to be very quick to go like, oh, okay, the box is open. What are the answers? There's a lot of repeated information, not just in the forums, but a lot of people are solving the same puzzle a million different times on all of these groups and everything. So it's tricky. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to box 5. Obviously, I want this story to go. It's like being in a mystery story. I mean, that's the point. But I think this is the end of the Lloyd McGowan story. If I had to hazard a guess, that's the equivalent of the aha moment here. Is that Lloyd McGowan thanks us because he's about to go free because of what we did. I just don't know what we did. So I think that's, yeah. I really think that is the solution. I think that is box 4. And I think that things like this, anything that is a lingering question, and I'm going to say that from this box, the only thing that is a lingering question, obviously there's the overarching that covers everything story of what John William James is up to, especially now that he runs Listening Friends of America through his puppet of Jacob Nilsson. But the only other real lingering clue that we don't know stuff about, or the answer to, I think is this. I think it's the Ohio Farmer. I'm even going to say that the Dr. Faustus card is to draw parallels between Lloyd McGowan and William Richter. One of them was the demon, and it was William Richter, as well as John William James and Jacob Nilsson. I think you're completely right in the chat. So I think that that's done. I think it's just the Ohio Farmer. I think this is part of the John William James backstory that we know nothing about, that we need to see continue and evolve in box 5 and beyond. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. This feels like an origin story for how a serial killer got put in charge of a facility, right? Like, this feels like all the backstory you would need before this thing can really, bam, explode and take off. Because from here, if John William James is in charge, there's nothing that he can't do, and there's nothing that he can't send us. So I'm very curious to see what he will send us next, now that he is not behind bars and now that there's nobody to tell him no. Let's see the next case that he sends our way to get our help on. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me in the chat, you guys. I really appreciate it. This is always fun to do, but it's a million times more fun having people to actually go back and forth with. So thank you very much for that. If you're watching this and this is no longer live, thank you for watching as well. Make sure that you are in the Hunt-A-Killer Facebook group. There's just a generic Facebook group just for the company, as well as specific groups for when you started. I am in the November 2016 group, just so you know. And so check all that stuff out and share your ideas there or with me. I can be found on Twitter. I'm at Haunted Sponge. That's where I tend to do most of the stuff for Hunt-A-Killer because it's horror themed-ish, mystery themed. And that's where I do a bunch of horror things. I run a horror blog. I'm also at Will Rogers 2000, as well as I run the Talk Bomb production company that does a bunch of podcasts. So if you enjoyed this, you might enjoy some of those other shows. So please go check out Talk Bomb or just search Talk Bomb on any podcast app, and you should see our shows pop up. Book Club, Schmook Club, Will and Bobby Know Everything. I also just started a new thing that I'm doing, actually a different live stream, which is something that I'm enjoying more and more, where I am actively trying to write a story. So if you guys are into stuff like this and just kind of watching slow progress get made, go check it out in the Talk Bomb YouTube channel. There's a video called The Joy of Writing, Chapter 1, and that's me. I'm openly sharing online a story that I had and trying to see if I can actually write it, which seems like the worst idea in the world, to actually put your ideas on the internet, but I'm doing it, because why not? So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining me in the chat. I really appreciate it. I will see you guys in all the groups and stuff. And hey, I will definitely see you in box 5. So thanks again to Hunter Killer, and see you guys next time. Goodbye. Although I never know how to end. Okay, goodbye.